Portugal have the best midfield in the world, the most dangerous fullbacks in this tournament, and a squad good enough to win the World Cup. And the one man standing between them and that trophy is their own captain. What you are about to hear is the story of a nation, a legend, and a decision that no manager wants to make and no captain wants to hear. By the end of this video, you will understand why Portugal's 2026 World Cup does not begin on the pitch. It begins in a private room, in a conversation between two men, where one of them will either save Portugal's dream or watch it burn. Stay until the end, because the final twist in this story is one that almost nobody is talking about. And if you are watching this for the first time, subscribe right now. Hit the bell. We tell football stories the way they deserve to be told. No filler, no shortcuts, just the real picture. Now, let us go back to where this story truly begins. There is a city in Portugal called Funchal. It sits on the island of Madeira, perched on cliffs above the Atlantic Ocean. And it was in Funchal, in a small house in a neighborhood called Santo Antonio, that a boy was born in February 1985, the fourth child of a cook and a part-time gardener who worked for the local council. The family was poor, not struggling, genuinely poor. The boy grew up sharing a room with his siblings, eating simple meals, wearing hand-me-down clothes. His father drank. His mother worked every hour she had just to keep the family together. That boy's name was Cristiano Ronaldo dos Santos Aveiro. And the reason we begin there, in that small house in Madeira, is because everything that Cristiano Ronaldo has ever done on a football pitch comes from that place. Every goal, every record, every obsessive training session at midnight, every refusal to accept that his body has limits, every time he has looked a manager in the eye and made it clear, "You will not take me off. You will not leave me out. You will not reduce me to a substitute." He did not become the greatest international goal scorer in the history of football by accepting limitations. And that, right there, is Portugal's problem in 2026. Because Cristiano Ronaldo is 41 years old, he is playing in Saudi Arabia. He is preparing for his final World Cup, and he is walking into this tournament as the most recognizable footballer on the planet. More photographed, more written about, more discussed than anyone else in this competition. More than Mbappe, more than Bellingham, more than Pedri or Vinicius or Lamine Yamal. More, arguably, than anyone except the one man whose name has been linked to his for the last 20 years. And in that fame, in that magnetic pull that every camera and every journalist feels toward him, lies the first of Portugal's problems. Let us talk about what happens when Cristiano Ronaldo walks into a room, or onto a pitch, or into a stadium tunnel. At the Qatar World Cup in 2022, the last time Portugal competed at this level, there was a game in the round of 16 against Switzerland. Ronaldo did not start. He was on the bench. And every single photographer inside that stadium, the professionals, the ones who had been sent there to capture the football, had their lenses aimed not at the pitch, not at the players warming up, not at the coaches giving final instructions. Every single one of them was pointed at one man sitting in a dugout in a tracksuit. Not playing, just sitting. That is the Ronaldo effect, and you cannot switch it off. Not for a manager, not for a squad, not for a nation. Because when the cameras are all pointed at one man, the story is about that one man. When the story is about that one man, the pressure follows. And when the pressure follows one man inside a squad of 26 players trying to work together as a team, things get complicated. Fast. Now let us be fair to Ronaldo here, because fairness is important. He has scored more international goals than any player in the history of football. Over 130 goals for Portugal. He has carried that national team through qualifying campaigns, through tournaments, through moments where, without him, they would have gone home early. He scored the goal that gave Portugal the lead in the 2016 European Championship final before injury took him off. He has been, for 2 decades, the heartbeat of Portuguese football. And his physical condition, even now at 41, is something that exists outside the normal rules of biology. The man has body fat levels that professional athletes in their mid-20s would envy. He sleeps in recovery chambers. He eats with the discipline of a machine. He trains when training sessions are over. He has built his body into something that should not still be performing at the level it is performing. And yet, here he is. Coaches who work around him in Saudi Arabia speak about his running speed in terms that sound like they are describing someone 10 years younger. The pace is not what it was at 28. Nothing could be. But it is still at a level that would embarrass most players at any age. And his finishing, the clinical, cold-blooded ability to be in the right place at the right moment and put the ball in the net, that does not leave a player like Ronaldo. That is muscle memory. That is thousands and thousands of hours of repetition built into the body so deeply that it does not rely on pace or power anymore. It relies on positioning, timing, and instinct. And those things only get sharper with experience. So when people say Ronaldo is finished, they are wrong. He is not finished. But there is a difference between not being finished and being the right choice to start every single minute of every single game across a 4-week knockout tournament in the North American summer heat. And that difference, that gap between what Ronaldo still is and what a World Cup winner needs from its striker, is where Portugal's entire campaign will be decided. Let us now talk about the squad around him, because this is where the story gets genuinely exciting, and where the frustration of the Ronaldo question becomes even sharper. Portugal's midfield going into this World Cup is, by any serious measure, the best midfield group in the tournament. Not one of the best, the best. Bruno Fernandes, the captain of Manchester United, one of the most technically complete central midfielders in European football, a player who can drive forward, create, score, and organize, all in the same passage of play. Vitinha, the PSG midfielder who has become one of the most elegant and intelligent passers in world football, a player who controls tempo the way a conductor controls an orchestra. João Neves, young, fearless, technically outstanding, a player who at 20 years old already looks like he was born to play at the highest level. Potentially the best young central midfielder in the world right now. Bernardo Silva, arguably the most complete player in this entire Portugal squad, comfortable anywhere across the midfield or attack, capable of producing moments of genius in tight spaces, a player who has won everything at club level with Manchester City and has never once looked out of place at the very top of the game. Ruben Neves, experienced, disciplined, capable of playing the deeper role that allows the others to express themselves. A player who has been underrated for most of his career, but who provides the foundation that every great midfield needs. 5 names. 5 players who, if you put them in any international squad in this tournament, would walk into the starting 11. And Portugal has all 5 of them. Now add to that the fullbacks. Nuno Mendes, one of the best left-backs in European football, a PSG player who attacks with the energy of a winger and defends with the discipline of a center-back. João Cancelo, a player who, at his best, is one of the most complete fullbacks in world football, capable of operating in midfield, creating chances, pressing high, and covering ground at speeds that most wingers cannot match. Diogo Dalot, consistent, reliable, technically excellent on the right side, a player who has grown year by year at Manchester United into someone you can trust in a major tournament. All of this, is a squad built to win the World Cup. The attacking midfield quality, the width, the depth, the experience blended with youth. If you gave this squad to any neutral football analyst and asked them to assess Portugal's chances, they would put them in the top 4 or 5 favorites without hesitation. And yet, and this is the tension at the heart of everything, that same analyst would then ask you one question. What are you doing with Cristiano Ronaldo? Because here is the football reality that nobody inside Portugal wants to say at full volume. The best version of this Portugal team, the version that uses this midfield to its full potential, that gives Bruno Fernandes the freedom to lead the attack, that allows João Neves and Vitinha to control games without worrying about feeding one man. That version of Portugal may not include Cristiano Ronaldo starting every game. And saying that in Portugal is, as we have established, close to treason. But let us look at the evidence. The two biggest wins in Portugal's qualifying cycle for this World Cup, a 9-0 against Luxembourg and a 9-1 against Armenia, both came in games where Ronaldo either did not play or played a reduced role. Now, those are not elite opponents. Those results mean very little in terms of predicting what happens against France or Spain or Argentina. But what they do show is something important. This Portugal team, when it plays with freedom, without the weight of one man's ego and expectation pressing down on every decision, this Portugal team can be breathtaking. And breathtaking is exactly what you need to win a World Cup. Now, let us talk about the man who has to navigate all of this. The man who has to look Cristiano Ronaldo in the eye and make decisions that are right for Portugal, even when those decisions might be wrong for Ronaldo. Roberto Martínez. He is Spanish. He has managed Wigan Athletic, Everton, and the Belgian national team before taking the Portugal job. He speaks Portuguese, genuinely speaks it, not tourist-level phrases, but real conversational Portuguese. And that matters enormously in a dressing room where the players feel seen by a foreign manager who has made the effort to meet them in their own language. He is, by every account from everyone who has worked with him or spoken to him at length, one of the most emotionally intelligent managers in world football. Not just tactically sophisticated, emotionally intelligent. He reads people. He understands what a player needs to hear versus what a player wants to hear. He knows how to manage egos in a room without bruising them publicly. He is the kind of man who solves problems before they become crises. And he nearly lost his job a year ago. A new president came into the Portuguese Football Federation. Results had dipped, and there were serious conversations about whether Martínez would survive. He did survive. Portugal then won the Nations League. The crisis passed. And now here he is at the World Cup, the tournament he has been building toward since he took the job. He has also confirmed that this will be his final chapter with Portugal. After the World Cup, he leaves. So this tournament, these 7 potential games, is his legacy. Everything he has built with this squad comes down to what happens over the next few weeks. And the central question of his legacy is this: does he have the courage to manage Cristiano Ronaldo? Not drop him, not humiliate him, not make him a substitute and leave him there, but manage him. Talk to him honestly. Sit with him privately and say, "We need you, but we need you at your best. And to be at your best, you cannot play every single minute of every single game." Think about how difficult that conversation is, not as a football decision, as a human conversation. You are sitting across from a man who has dedicated his entire life, his entire existence, to being the best. A man who grew up with nothing and built everything through obsessive work and refusal to accept limits. A man who has scored over 130 goals for his country and who genuinely knows that this is the last time he will stand on a World Cup pitch wearing that shirt. And you are going to tell him to come off after 60 minutes, that he needs to rest, that Portugal need him fresh for later. Can you imagine the look on his face? Can you imagine what that silence in the room feels like before he responds? And here is the brutal truth. If Roberto Martínez cannot win that conversation, If he cannot persuade Ronaldo that managing his minutes is the path to glory rather than the path to humiliation, then Portugal will not win this World Cup. They may go deep, they may win their group and beat a team or two in the knockout rounds, but they will not go all the way. Because by the time the semi-finals come around, a 41-year-old man who has played 90 minutes in the summer heat, game after game after game, will not be the same player who started the tournament. And when he stops delivering, when the goals dry up and the legs tire, the whole machine will grind to a halt. Now, stay with me here, because we need to talk about the alternative. The player who proved, in the most dramatic way possible, that Portugal do not need to depend entirely on Ronaldo. His name is Gonçalo Ramos. In Qatar in 2022, when Ronaldo was dropped for the Switzerland game, a decision that caused an earthquake of noise and controversy, Gonçalo Ramos came off the bench and scored a hat-trick. A hat-trick in a World Cup round of 16. Portugal won 6-1. It was one of the most stunning individual performances by a substitute in World Cup history. Ramos is now at PSG. He is physical, direct, intelligent in the box, and dangerous. He is not world-class, not yet, perhaps not ever, but he is a very good striker who proved in the biggest moment of his career that he can deliver when it matters. And yet, and this is the paradox, his very existence creates another layer of pressure on Martínez. Because if Ronaldo is not scoring, the question of Ramos comes up immediately. Every journalist, every pundit, every fan in Portugal will be asking, why is Ramos not starting? What are we doing? The hat-trick man is sitting on the bench while Ronaldo walks around the pitch not scoring? There is no version of this story where the pressure goes away. There is only a version where it is managed well or managed badly. Let us now address something that caused controversy before this tournament even began, and that continues to be a talking point. When Portugal lost to the Republic of Ireland in a qualifier in November, Ronaldo was sent off. Under normal FIFA disciplinary rules, a red card in a qualifier carries a ban that extends into the following major tournament. That meant Ronaldo should have been suspended for the first 2 games of this World Cup. He did not serve that ban in full. FIFA's disciplinary committee reviewed the case, considered that in 225 previous international appearances, 225 games, Ronaldo had never received a red card. They invoked Article 27 of the Disciplinary Code, which allows FIFA to suspend or partially suspend a disciplinary measure for a probationary period. The ban was reduced to 1 match, which Ronaldo served in the final qualifier against Armenia. The noise around this decision was predictable. Questions were asked about whether FIFA had intervened to protect one of their most marketable players, whether the rules had been bent for a famous name. But here is the context that those questions often ignore. This is not a precedent set for Cristiano Ronaldo. Laurent Koscielny, the French defender, had his World Cup ban waived entirely before the 2014 tournament in Brazil. Mario Mandzukic, the Croatian striker, received a 2-game ban for serious foul play, also at the 2014 World Cup, that was reduced to 1 game. Moises Caicedo, Nicolas Otamendi, multiple players across multiple tournaments have received similar treatment under the same disciplinary framework. Is the rule fair? That is a legitimate debate. Should a red card in a qualifier always carry the full ban into the tournament? Perhaps. But the decision made regarding Ronaldo was consistent with how FIFA has handled these situations before. This was not invented for him. It was applied to him the same way it has been applied to others. What it means practically is that Ronaldo is available from Game 1 of this World Cup. And in Group K, against Colombia, DR Congo, and Uzbekistan, he will almost certainly play. He will probably score. The noise will build. The expectation will grow. And then, when the knockout rounds arrive and the real tournament begins, That is when everything becomes critical. Portugal against Colombia will be the game that tells us something. Not the result necessarily. Portugal should win that. But how Martinez manages Ronaldo's minutes. Whether he takes him off at 60 or 65. Whether Ronaldo accepts it. Whether the body language on the touchline is one of understanding and trust, or one of a captain who feels diminished. Watch that moment. Whatever happens in that substitution, if it comes, will tell you everything you need to know about Portugal's World Cup. Because the best-case scenario for Portugal, the scenario where this extraordinary squad actually lifts the trophy, looks like this. Ronaldo manages 45 to 60 minutes in the group games. He scores 1 or 2 goals. He stays fresh. His legs feel good going into the round of 16. He trains fully. He sleeps well. And then, in the knockout rounds, when the games are tight and the margins are small, and one moment of clinical finishing decides everything, he is there. Sharp, hungry, ready. And he delivers. That Ronaldo, the one who has been managed carefully, who has been protected from his own competitive instincts by a manager wise enough to have the hard conversation, that Ronaldo could absolutely win Portugal the World Cup. And the worst-case scenario? Ronaldo plays every minute. He plays through the group stage, through the fatigue, through the heat. He plays 90 minutes in the round of 16 and 90 minutes in the quarter-final. And by the time the semi-final comes, against France, or England, or Spain, or Argentina, he is running on empty. The pace is gone. The sharpness has dulled. And Portugal, with all that midfield brilliance and all those dangerous fullbacks, cannot score. Because their goal threat, the man they built everything around, has nothing left to give. There is also the question of legacy, because Cristiano Ronaldo, at 41, at his final World Cup, is thinking about more than just the next 90 minutes. He is thinking about history. He is thinking about what this tournament means for how he is remembered. He already has the international goal record. He already has the Champions League titles, the league titles, the Ballon d'Or awards, the individual records that will stand for decades. But he does not have a World Cup. Messi has one now, and that, more than any of the others, is the one piece that is missing from Ronaldo's story. The one thing he cannot point to and say, I have this. And for a man whose entire identity is built around being the best, around having everything, around leaving no mountain unclimbed, the absence of that trophy is the thing that keeps him going. It is the thing that got him out of bed at 5 in the morning for training when he was 38, 39, 40. It is the reason he went to Saudi Arabia and kept playing when he could have retired to a life of wealth and comfort. He wants this World Cup more than he has ever wanted anything. More, perhaps, than Portugal itself wants it. And that hunger, that extraordinary, almost irrational refusal to let go, is simultaneously his greatest strength and his greatest danger to Portugal's campaign. Because a man who wants something that badly does not come off after 60 minutes without a fight. A man who carries that much personal history into a tournament does not easily accept that the team might be better without him for 30 minutes. A man who has spent his entire life refusing to accept limitations will not suddenly, at 41, learn to accept them. Unless someone finds the right words. Unless Roberto Martínez, emotionally intelligent, Portuguese-speaking, experienced, wise, sits in a room with Cristiano Ronaldo and says something that reaches him. Not as a manager talking to a player, as one human being talking to another. As someone who understands what this moment means, who respects everything Ronaldo has given to Portuguese football, and who can make him see, genuinely see, that the path to the World Cup trophy runs through smart management of his own body. That is the conversation Portugal needs. Whether it happens is the question Portugal cannot answer yet. What we do know is this: the squad is ready. The midfield is world-class. The fullbacks are elite. The tactical setup under Martínez is sound. Every ingredient for a World Cup winning campaign is present, except one. And that one, the most important one, the one that holds everything together or tears everything apart, depends not on training, not on tactics, not on fitness. It depends on a conversation in a quiet room between a manager and his captain. If Martínez wins that conversation, Portugal are genuine World Cup contenders. They are the team that tournament favorites will not want to face in the knockout rounds. They are the team that could, quietly, brilliantly, almost without anyone fully realizing it until it is too late, go all the way. And if he does not win it, then Portugal will have the most talented squad they have ever taken to a World Cup. The best midfield in the tournament, the best fullbacks, a system built to win, and they will go home too early, leaving everyone who watched them wondering what might have been if just one conversation had gone differently. The 2026 World Cup for Portugal begins not with a kickoff. It begins with a conversation. And nobody outside that room will ever know exactly what was said. We are halfway through this story, and we have not even talked yet about what happens inside the dressing room when Ronaldo does not score. What happens to that midfield, to those fullbacks, to the whole shape of the team when the pressure shifts? Stay with me, because that is where this gets really interesting. Everything we have discussed so far is the build-up. But the real test, the moment that will define whether Portugal win or lose this World Cup, comes in one specific game. And I am going to tell you exactly which game that is, and exactly what needs to happen. That is coming right now. Portugal have everything they need to win the 2026 World Cup. Everything except one answer. And that answer belongs to two men in a room. One of them, the greatest goal scorer in the history of international football. The other, the manager who knows exactly what needs to be done and must now find the courage to do it. Whatever happens next in this tournament, remember this moment. Remember that it all came down to a conversation. And watch what Roberto Martínez does in that first substitution, because that single moment will tell you everything.